Welcome back everybody to Ninjutsu Plays. So, today in this video I was wanting to make a little video uh, to try to break down a new fleet that the Empire could have used. This is also doing something that Eckhart the Ladder did, and no, I'm not trying to copy him, I just thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do. It seemed like it would be a fun thing to do. And to talk about this, I'm gonna be talking about only one fleet for lengthwise because I still don't know how to edit. But I'm also only gonna be using Empire War ships because I don't know squat. I don't really know that much about Star Wars ships that much anymore. So okay, here we go. In this fleet, I will be only using like one Star Destroyer. And So I will only use one Star Destroyer in this fleet because the Empire uses them way too much. And yes, these things are pretty good. They're pretty effective in a, I guess you could say a command ship or something like that. They have more firepower than a Venator. They have the better shielding, and they can be able to house more fighters. But I'm thinking, so for a fighter support, because I'm thinking like if this is either a invasion fleet or a transport fleet where you're just trying to transport cargo or transport troops, uh, I I honestly think either an acclimator, two acclimators, or a venator. The acclimators will You can easily have the acclimators adjusted to what you need them to do. They could be they could adjust it for extra cargo space or extra fighter space. The Venator can do the same, but it has more weaponry than the acclimator. So I would say that would be more of a invasion because in the Clone Wars, these two ships were used heavily before the Imperial Star Destroyer was made. So I would say uh, instead of how the Empire brings troops down with just small transports, they can easily just have the Venator or Acclimator land on the planet and just unload all the troops. Just like that. It'll be a lot easier and a lot faster. Okay, so uh, I would have to say for fire support, I would go with a Victory Star Destroyer or two, but that's probably pushing it depending on the budgeting of ships, depending on the budgeting of planets that will be using these fleets. So if you're in the main worlds, like if you're in the inner worlds, I would say Victory 1 Star Destroyers, two of the Victory 1s and Victory 2 that in the fleet. This is mainly if you're in the inner systems of the Star Wars universe. But if we're in the outer rim, this is like backwater planets. So I don't see the Empire spending a lot of resources on fleets and backwater planets. So to keep the Imperial Star Destroyer, I would say two acclimators and two dreadnought heavy cruisers for fire support. And hmm, maybe where are they at? Where are they at? Where are they at? I guess they're not in this one. Hmm. Yeah, I guess not in this one. I was gonna say we could use Vindicator Star Destroyers, or I don't know if it's Star Destroyer, but I'm gonna call it a frigate. The Vindicator frigates as another way of fire support if we're in different planets, because they pretty much like hit like a smaller ISD. And my anti-fire support. So What I would go with is a maybe like a couple of strike cruisers. I'm just gonna put out 5 to put out my point, and Karak cruisers. I don't. Sorry if I said that wrong, but I would use Karak cruisers quite a bit. These things will be used quite a bit, and also Lancer frigates to cover the to cover these guys in. Like I said, if this was in the Outer Rim, so I would have a crap ton of Lancer frigates. Oh, it was right here. I so we're gonna put this fleet to the test with a rebel fleet because I what we're gonna be doing is if I'm gonna have the Imperial Star Destroyer transport fleet with the Acclimators and Venator attack a couple of rebel gunships to show you what I mean because at this point the rebels will most likely just be sending gunships and maybe we'll send a bunch of gunships and maybe a dauntless heavy cruiser. So we'll just go with these guys. And this will show you what I'm talking about when with the whole. I think this would be better if the Imperials use these instead of just crap ton of Imperial Star Destroyers and like just what instead of what they used all the time. So I think this would have been a much more effective way. I honestly think it would have been much more of an effective way to use a fleet. So here we go. Okay. Let's move the fleet in. This seems like it'll be is this is like I said, this is for a backwater planet guarding guarding some kind of back guarding some kind of transports. That's what the acclimators would be for. And instead of just having and the good thing about acclimators, like I said, they can be adjusted and plus they have their own weapons. So you don't have to worry about them being defenseless. You don't have to worry about acclimators being defenseless because they had defenses on themselves. And the Venator has better weapons than the acclimator, so I would say that it's a more well-rounded, a more well-rounded ship. It was ridiculous that the Empire phased the acclimators and the Venators out for an Imperial Star Destroyer and the uh, Quasar cruisers. I thought it was so stupid, but hey, that's the biggest problem with them, and that's other than plot armor, that's the biggest reason why the rebels won. They were so focused on one ship that instead of I mean, I get why they wanted to be a uniform, like cause fear to more people, but it it costed them quite a bit of funds that they could use to make more fleets that could have actually been effective against the rebellion. So now this is what I'm talking about with it would be a life it would be very effective if they use this fleet for guarding their cargo. So they just took out so these ships are supposed to be like a raiding party. Pretend that the New Republic that I sent in was a raiding party. So these guys are able to take out the raiding party easily because I doubt anybody is gonna send a full-on attack fleet just for a raid. I honestly think that would be ridiculous. No one's gonna waste that much resources on just a simple raid. But this is just basically the cargo defense fleets that I would have if I was running the Empire. So this, just for time's sake, I'm not gonna do a whole entire simulations of battles with every single fleet that I talked about in this, but you get what I'm talking about. Sorry for that. You get what I'm talking about when I'm saying with this. I think this would be a very much more effective way to use ships instead of just using a bunch of Imperial Star Destroyers. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.